no GRE, no TOEFL, still my study abroad dream can alive? Or what do you feel? Do your study abroad dream reach one last minute? It's not. That's why this video is for you to enliven your study abroad dream. And here in this video, we are going to present study in France, MS or PhD in France. And today here with us, Atreo is there. Hi, Atreo.
Hello.
Thank you for joining with us, Atreo, from France. So he has joined in this video from France, and thank you for that. So here he will help us to understand what's the timeline, what's the application procedure, what's the criteria you have to fulfill, and what's the whole PhD program in France. So that's why this video is going to be very important for you if you want to go abroad without GRE and TOEFL. Atreo, can I request to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. Hello, I'm Atreo. I'm currently doing a PhD at the University Paris-Saclay in a topic called neuromorphic computing. And my physics is basically physics. My background is basically physics and nanoscience. And right now I'm working on something which is at the intersection of physics, artificial intelligence, and a bit of engineering.
Exactly. As I have heard from other seniors also, is actually, it doesn't matter whether from US or Germany or France you are doing PhD. Actually, as I have heard, France, there are many institutes who are doing cutting edge research. As you have mentioned, this is a collaborative interdisciplinary research, which is actually very hot topic nowadays in research. But that's why it's very important to know for us, as I don't know anything, how to apply for France. So that's why I just want to know first, Atreo, that what's the advantage in PhD in France? Means why you choose France?
So first of all, France is one of the countries in the world who are at the forefront of research in certain fields. Like if you look at the recent Shanghai rankings, I think 4 of the universities are in the top 100, and Paris-Saclay being at the number 14. So already these numbers say that it is doing quite important research in the world. And other than this, I really liked their PhD program structure, which is, first of all, the duration is 3 to 3.5 years, which I found to be quite nice as a time period for a PhD. And of course, secondly, France being one of, especially Paris being the cultural capital of Europe, I really wanted to come here to also experience the culture. Yeah, these I think were the main reasons for me to join a PhD in France in particular.
Yeah, Atreo, so this 3.5 years of PhD, you have to complete within 3.5 years, or you can also extend. Means what about the scholarship if you want to extend after 3.5 years?
So actually, the PhDs here start with a contract of 3 years, and the extension that you get is of 6 months. So basically, this is the time period of by which you have to finish. But I think there are cases where you can even extend it to 4 years maximum. But more than that, I don't think is possible. But I think in most cases, people tend to finish their PhDs in this time period. It's so how they design the projects and everything that really culminates in people finishing it in time, essentially. So it's usually not a big issue.
Okay, and the next big questions for us that how to start application, how to apply.
Yes, so the application procedure per se, I won't say it's specific to France. It's more general for Europe. Like most places in Europe have the same procedure of application. So what I did, and of course I also recommend other people to do. So you start looking for a place to do a PhD. If you're sure you want to do a PhD, you start looking for a place where you want to do it, and you start doing that at least 1 year before you start you plan to start your PhD. So say if you want to join in September, the best time to start is maybe October, November of the last year, of the previous year to that one. So first of all, you start looking for all the open positions, and say you end up finding some good labs in France. So first of all, you go through all the work of the person or the group you are intending to join, and you see how much it matches with you or not. And then you look for any available PhD advertisements, because if there is a position available, in many cases they advertise the position, and then it becomes a bit straightforward. In the advertisement, it's already written whom to contact, what to provide, and all this sort of details. So be careful to really fulfill all of those when trying to apply. And even if there is not a open position advertised in a website or in anywhere, it is also possible to get a position. So in many cases, it happens that there is a position, but it is not advertised, or the professor is supposed to get a funding later and he would maybe advertise later on. So the way to proceed here is to directly mail the professor, giving a short introduction of you and why you are interested in particular in his work, and asking if there is any position available or going to be available in the upcoming future. So this is the reason, if you start early, then you are gathering the attention of this person quite early. And if he has a funding, because you contacted him earlier, you will get some sort of at least advantage, maybe at least from a psychological point of view. So the best time to mail the professor, I would say, is around March or February, like that. That is quite optimum, because usually by that time the professor or the researcher knows if he or she is going to have funding for that year for a PhD student or not. And that also gives the supervisor enough time to interview you and know more about you, basically. So yeah, that is more or less the way to approach this PhD application.
So next, I just want to know what are the things I should be careful in time of applications.
Yeah. So first of all, it is very crucial to not write any generalized mail to many professors, because many students tend to do that. They just write a general email about yourself and what you want to do and send it to different people. And I really ask people not to do that, because professors are really good at understanding if it's a general mail or not. To tell the professor that you're genuinely interested, you should do some homework about that person or that group, and tell him specifically what you liked about the work of the group and how it suits your background, why you can be the person, you can be the only person to do that PhD position. You have to, in an indirect way, try to convince that person. And also in France, usually there are many administrative steps to follow during application or after selection even. It's very crucial to go through them very carefully, because since they are very particular about some papers, some procedures, one has to be, I think, extra cautious about all of them. And of course, like, your interaction with your supervisor should be quite professional. Like, you should always be very clear about what your intention is. You should not confirm your position, of course, before you are really ready to join it. If there is some other opportunities that you're waiting for, you should let your supervisor know that, okay, you have selected me, I'm very happy about it, but I cannot let you know my decision right away because I am waiting for this other decision. So can you give me some more time? So it's very crucial to always be quite transparent with the person with whom you're going to work later on, probably. So I think these are these are the aspects that I would like you to be careful about.
Exactly, Atrida, the last point you mentioned is very important. I feel as a researcher that I should be very trusty and clear to my supervisor.
Yes.
And next, I just want to know that what comes after selection. So first, one thing, let me ask that in cover letter, which I am sending to my prof, I am writing my enthusiasm and my motivation to the particular field, isn't? And after that, should I have to appear in an interview with that prof, or what's the other procedure after that?
Yes. So usually how it works in France or Europe is you do have to appear for an interview, and that can be more than one interview actually. But usually it's one big interview where you have to appear, and in I think all cases, you have to present one of your work, specifically your master thesis work, the work you probably will be doing at that time. Because if you're applying in or mailing in March, by April, May, you won't have finished your master project, but you have made some progress in it. So you will be asked to present that to the group or the supervisor. So you should be quite prepared for that. And in many cases, the supervisor asks questions not about the work in specific, but more about the motivation, that why you want to do a PhD, why in that lab, what will happen if something very difficult happens during the PhD, how that person manages uh, difficult situations. The professor, because like PhD, in terms of an academic endeavor, of course, it's always difficult in everything, but it's also a mental struggle in some way. You really, however, whatever field you are, how good you are, doesn't matter. You will face some problems, and it depends on your tenacity, how you go through those phases that determines what kind of a PhD student you are. So supervisor tries to know that quite well, and it gets a bit difficult if you're in a different continent. So the interview can only happen through some online channel. But it gets easier if you can physically be present, which might in some cases be possible. So that is one point to keep in mind, that of course you need to show your supervisor or the group that you're good in the science, but it's also important to exhibit that you have that research mindset. And so this interview happens, and they let you know the, the results after a few days. And if you're selected, then I think it's almost done. But the only step after that is getting the visa, getting the accommodation, these kind of more logistic based things. But still, you have to be careful about those, because like getting a visa and all those things are not like a not piece of cake, but also not too difficult for Europe, I would say.
Yeah.
So
So
these are.
what about the scholarship? What
Mhm.
about the scholarship opportunity? Means after getting confirmed by the prof after interview, what my scholarship will be happening?
So basically, it is already fixed what your scholarship would be, because when the professor has has a PhD position, that I think in 99.9% cases mean that he has he has the funding for that position. Even if he doesn't, he will maybe tell the student that we will write a grant proposal together to get some funding or things like that. But if the PhD is confirmed, that means the funding is also confirmed. And yeah, the scholarship is really dependent on the grant that is funding that student. And in France, at least, the amount of the scholarship can quite a lot vary. But
Yeah.
whatever it
So
is, even the minimum amount is sufficient for the student to live. So I would say not to worry about the scholarship too much.
okay. 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 Any important things I'm missing?
Well, yeah, I would say like for France specifically, be prepared to face a country which does not speak English almost outside your lab, I would say. In the lab, I think it's quite fine. So, if possible, try to learn French from before, because in India, I think a lot of places offer lessons in French. So, if one can
After
learn French. Hmm?
that will be after going there. It's not necessary to learn from India itself.
Well, if you are already selected and you have some time, I would recommend doing that definitely. Because say when you are going somewhere else, the most difficult time is the first few months, first 1 or 2 months. So if you already know from before the language, it makes things much simpler. Rather than if you during the first 3 months you are learning, then it will be, of course, still helpful, but it won't help you during that period, right? So my recommendation is to maybe start early if that is possible. Like, I won't say that is a determining factor if you want to go to France or not, because a lot of people who come to do research work here do not know French or have not learned French. But
Yeah.
it definitely makes things easier if you do learn. Other than that, yeah, of course, if you have been in an Indian lab and you're coming to an European lab, the work cultures are quite different. Here, at least in my lab or what I have seen, people don't work or people don't even expect you to work 24/7. So you really have to separate your work and your life and give equal importance to both to have your PhD in an optimum manner. So be prepared to do that and be more efficient in your work, the time period you're getting to do something. Yeah, I think mostly though these are my suggestions.
Yeah. But thank you very much, Atroda, for sharing us the information. Actually, many people, we as a MSc student, didn't know for our time what's the application procedure, all the things, and that's
Right.
why this can be very much helpful for the students who are aiming for the PhD in abroad.
Mm-hmm.
So I just want to finish by thanking Atroda. Yeah. And we have many more videos on PhD in Israel, PhD in US. Germany itself is there. That's not sure. Many other countries like PhD in South Korea, PhD in Japan, PhD in Israel, they are also on the way and in our video series. Keep watching them. And many others are coming. They're on the way. Until then, keep watching. This is shining out. See you in the next video. Bye-bye. Yeah, that's really nice.
ঠিক আছে